You are quite, I want to say, entrepreneurial within, I want to say, Black Enterprise. What is it about the culture of that company that says this is what we need? Is it because one of those ones that's disrupted? But what is it that, in terms of what allows you to be at your best in terms of being entrepreneurial at work?
Yeah, it was tough. People that know Black Enterprise, it started out as a magazine 45 years ago. And digital was always put to the back burner, so when I came in, were print people, so here comes little old me, a woman at that, Mr. Grace had 3 sons, so everything was around men, and I had to prove myself, which was really, 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 really tough because I'm dealing with people that have been there for like 30 years, 20 years.
And you came out of the banking world.
I mean, that's fit for the job. I felt, working in the industry, but mostly men, and then with people that already had their ideas, I wanted to see what I was made of, because people are constantly telling you, you can't do it, you don't know what you're talking about, I got this. And so I was like, I got this too. Me too. And, from there was one has ever taken it, where, and then career and finance, what is smaller than that, But I wanted to really go towards apps, which we haven't really done. We've done one and that was it. And I wanted to go to wearable devices where everything is going. So this allowed and finances and research.
So it's been around for decades. You
Sure.
are a startup.
Oh yeah, most definitely. We're a startup. Looking at the content, that we can put. I remember, we wrote and they were just
I got the answer. Okay, you guys swap mics again. When was your I got this moment?
When was I got this moment? For me, it was, there just wasn't an option to fail. It just wasn't in the agenda at all. And I was fortunate enough to be one of the very few women that got funded. I had...
Oh, yeah, you're good.
Okay. Before I got funded, it was, I'm doing this, I'm serious about it, I think this has legs, we could do something with this. And then when I got funded, the pressure came on, because now there are other people that believed in me. I had, I had investors, I had people, when investors put money behind you, they're investing in you, the person, and they're believing that you're going to put their money to good use, and that's a huge responsibility, right? So you don't want to disappoint. So I think if I were to choose a moment, I would say it was when I first got my Series A funding by Golden Seeds, by Golden Seeds. That was when, for me, it was okay. There's no option to fail here.
I'm really accountable now.
Yeah.
Heather, when was there in your... And you've been at Oracle, and you've been like
Yes.
when for you in terms of, because those are been major companies with major hierarchy and a lot of people who want to
kind of fight.
Yeah,
and
a lot
different kind of fight.
As I was like to remind people, there's the Fortune 500 or the Fortune 1000. That means 1,000 people get to be CEO. Right? We can all complain about the lack of diversity at the top, but when there's only 1,000 roles to fill and how many people are fighting for it. But when was your I got this moment? And
yeah, I was thinking as I was listening to my panelists here. So I think the concept of being a fighter ties back to confidence. And there's so many points at which, the thing that I really relied on was confidence. Can I get through this? Can I get through this? Oracle acquired PeopleSoft, the company that I worked for. A lot of colleagues I worked with were laid off at the time. I went to business school. I kind of decided last minute to apply to NYU, and I submitted my application on the last day of the 3rd round of the deadline, and got in. And and I've just had lots of moments where the thing that has powered me forward is my confidence. And you have those moments too where you kind of say, okay, wait, the thing that I wanted happened to me. Now I have to perform. Yeah. But I do find that within Google, I have had to prove myself many times. I actually have 2 small children also, and I went on 2 maternity leaves. And fortunately, we have quite a generous maternity leave policy at Google, but going out for 6 months and then coming back, I felt like I had to reprove myself. So it's just, I feel like the I got this moment is kind of constant, and the thing that I know I can always rely on is my confidence. And I see with other people on my team or who I coach and mentor that sometimes the thing that is holding them back is themselves. They just can't get out of their own way, and the thing that can really power you forward is oftentimes a different perspective. So having more coaches and mentors in your life to support you is extraordinarily valuable. I want to back up to something we were talking about with teams and skills. So we were talking about all the renaissance and how you need to have all these different skills. And I find it at Google we hire these super smart, super talented people, and they feel like they need to be all things to all people. And you can't possibly be all things to all people. You don't have all of those skill sets. And I would say one of the things we try very hard to do is put together teams with people of complementary skill sets. So you might have somebody who's this visionary and has all these ideas, but isn't really a great project manager. And they need to be with someone who's more organized to take those ideas to fruition. And then you might want to make sure you have somebody in the bunch who's not just focused on the task, but also is focused on the people and how everybody feels and making sure that emotions are in check. So I imagine in a smaller startup, you have to be thinking about that as you're building a team also. And that combination of skills is really important.
Well, you have to be all of those things before you build a team, right? So you really don't have the luxury of being, you have to be the visionary and the project manager. You just have to train yourselves to be those things and learn to do that before you're able to build a team to supplement you in those skills. But yeah.
I'll just add on that note on skills, one of the most important skills that I've sought out for anyone in any role is a very, very strong project manager. I think that it's hard to define the impact of that sometimes and what the value is that you bring to the table, but actually it's quite a rare skill for the people who really do it well. So I encourage that in anyone. It's
anyone who can
herd
herd cats well.
Yeah.
But I think that works for a company like Google size, because us at Black Enterprise, we don't have the luxury, of, I wish we did, but I am the VP, I am the project manager, I'm, doing a lot of different things. So what you do is you really look at the holes that you have, and you say what's the priority and what's really important, and you fill those, because should I go out and spend 50, 60, 70,000, how much, kind of level project manager, or should you really go out and fill that marketing position that you were talking about that's so critical to get the audience there? Do you have a digital salesperson that is going to go out, and sell your product, and then take on that responsibility of doing, becoming that project manager? So it's really tough for startups and small businesses to, kind of juggle and figure out what's really important, at the end of the day. So Google can do it.
That intense self-awareness that you need as an individual to stay, I want to say, lucratively, gainfully, busy and employed, whether it's as an employee or as an entrepreneur. You have to have that massive self-awareness. And I think what you're saying too, in terms of early companies and bigger companies too, because as soon as you lose that sort of self-awareness of what are we doing well and what do we need to do to stay on top, that's when you're down on your knees or out of funding or whatever the case is. Shelly, I want to hand this back to you because of something, whatever mics we want to swap, we can swap this around. It's something Heather had said when we were chatting before. Your community and people around you saw a lot in you, and then that was, really picking up in terms of what Heather had said. And can you kind of tell your story that way?
When I came to Black Enterprise and before I launched Cocoa Fab, I was behind the scenes person. I was production. That's all I want to do. Everybody else can be in the forefront. But then when I came to Black Enterprise, and if you know it, they do a lot of events with, high-powered, people, CEOs of companies, and I started seeing these people, and specifically women, and I was like, wow. And they were like, you have something to say. And even when I launched Cocoa Fab, I had young women coming to me, and and I was on one panel, and everybody was like, I want to see more of you. I mean, that's how I got here today, by Natasha being somewhere. So it kind of forced me to be out in that forefront, and I still I told you I gravitate right, and I still want to go in the back, but then, you know, people like you pull me out. And so the biggest thing, the biggest thing is that you find yourself every day or new things about what you're capable of doing. And, you know, it's fantastic because it kind of solidifies and knows that you know, you're still on this journey, you know, every day, because you really have a lot to say and you get to meet wonderful people. And I'm happy that I'm in the forefront now a little bit.
That's awesome. We're glad too. We need to see. We need to see you. So, oh, yay! Yay! Dr. Park, welcome. I think we've got a microphone right there at the end for you. Hopefully that cord will, yep, there, and it works and all good.
Yeah, finally.
Finally.
Yeah, driving is challenge.
So, every time I flirt with living in another city other than, you know, New York City, I'm like, yeah, but what's the public transit like? Yeah, forget it. It's not happening. Yeah, own a car, forget it. Not happening.
Yeah. But I apologize being late.
No, not to worry. We are thrilled that you are here now. And one of the conversations we've been having, so I'll let you catch your breath and get in here, is when in your career, you know, did you have that I got this moment that I think in many ways is what enables entrepreneurs to be successful or drives them forward in this face of all that adversity, or enables people to be courageous within companies as being an intrapreneur and challenging the we've always done it this way and continue to innovate. When did you have that moment in your own career?
Okay, I start with when I was working for a big company, Lucent Technologies. I was rookie.
That's when you know how old everyone is in the room. Everyone who nodded and went, "Listen, I remember them." Yeah.
Well, I have two grown-up girls, so I have my own age. So at Lucent, I was rookie then. I just fresh out of college, and my first project was trying to fix something in the production line, and the production team couldn't solve it, so they actually had to take a PhD and put it into the project, and you solve it. And obviously, many people in the production team, they didn't like it. It's like, what does she know, right? She's so young, she doesn't have any experience, and what does she know? So they would not listen to me, and I was trying to provide them different ideas. And they would just not listen. They would just look at me, okay, and turn around and do something else. So when that happened, I actually started with at the operator level, who the hourly workers. There's a couple of guys. Those guys are really young, actually, probably still doing the high school education or just finished high school. So I spent time, talk to them, trying to figure it out what the problems are, and see, why they would not listen to me. I was trying to gather the information indirectly. Of course, they listen to their supervisor, the production supervisor, not to me, right? But I was trying to get the information from them. And I realized it's basically they know if they listen to me and then they do something and it changed a certain part of the production process, and that impacts at the end some yield issues or cost-related factors in the end product. And they don't want to be responsible. They know at the end, I will just leave, right? I leave the team after the project. Once I say, okay, I gave my solution, I'll leave, right? But at the end, they will stuck with that problem or the potential yield issue or whatever they're afraid of, and they don't want to be responsible for it. So I had to basically send it out email to everyone, including all the management level. This is what I told them that will do. It will be my responsibility.
When the shit hits the fan, I'm here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I sent that out, and obviously next moment there's emails coming from the the managers up there, it's like, what are you doing? You are changing the production, process in the production. And I just had to stand up and say, guys, sorry, I understand all the issues, but this is the solution. And once again, I told them, this is my solution, and it's my responsibility. If things happen, it's my solution. And then they took my comment or advice, and then at the end, it did create a problem. So
I was waiting. I was trying to figure out what was the punchline here.
Right.
I was figuring the punchline was that either was a problem or when it worked, they all took credit for it.
There was a problem. So, so what can I do? So I had to talk to the managers, and then obviously the manager called all the operators first. You guys made this problem, and this is how much dollars we lost, right, by doing this certain way. So I just have to say that's not their mistake. It's my mistake. They are just listening to me, and to me, it could be now they're looking back. It's something that's expected of me, right? As somebody who got more education, technical background from the operators, it's expected of me to step up and be responsible for the solution I provided. But I was just like as young as they are, right? I was just came from college, right? So it was something totally new and it really took a lot of courage out of me to do that, right? And I was a little bit nervous, like, am I going to lose the job after this, right? All these things going through, but it's something that it's a totally new approach, and I never really had to take such a responsibly on my shoulder. So it was new, but I've learned a lot. There are sometimes you do have to step up, and you do have, even if you're not 100% sure of your solution, you do have to give your solution, right? And take the consequences.
Well, it clearly didn't derail your career.
Yeah, it strengthened me, right? As now that I do work at Chromis, and I'm one of the co-founders. I'm a chief operating officer, and I do work with a lot of production. Not a lot, actually. I'm a small company, so we have a handful, but they are operators and production technicians. And those experiences that I dealt with them at Lucent Technology, it really taught me a lot, and now I do much better job with them.
That's awesome. All right. So I have, of course, lots more questions, but to make this as interactive as possible, if you start to have questions, we would love to have them. There's bright light shining in our faces. So here's what I really need. And since we have question already in the front row, please make it prominent that you've got a question. And if for some reason I don't seem to be seeing you, it's because I'm getting that paparazzi moment with the bright lights. And what's that? Yeah. And so wave your arms, and then please, because this is a really lovely sized audience, please say who you are and where you're working or going to school, and ask your question. A lot of the times the people who you really have going to get answers from and great networking are all your peer and the attendees. So just ask that you do that as well.
Sorry, I just wanted to address something really quickly, because when you asked how many entrepreneurs were here, and we had quite a number of hands.
Yeah, but entrepreneurs, put your hands up again.
Entrepreneurs.
Okay. Oh
okay.
yeah, there we go.
So, I thought I'll just address.
Please do.
Just real life experiences as an entrepreneur. So Peggy said something earlier that resonated with me, and that was that as a woman, you don't know how you're going to be portrayed in the media. So Plum Perfect is a technology company. We are a search engine. We use photos in place of text. And no matter how many times I explain that to journalists or people that are interviewing me, what comes out printed is they're a makeup company. She helps people find the right makeup for them. I understand why people have that view right now, but it drives me crazy.
You know what? Even if that would be like, how do you explain your company to your grandmother? You know, when people give that kind of like patronizing and sort of insulting, whatever. Like, I think my grandmother's knew a lot more than makeup. But if your company had been founded by a guy, would they say, hey, he's got a makeup company?
Let's say my company had been founded by a guy, and we did start in beauty. So that's fair that, you know,
It's a
people
big
think
industry.
of us. But I think that if you're asked a question, what is your company? And you say, we are a search engine. We use photos in place of text. One example is you take a selfie and we find the right makeup for you. But we can also do the same thing in fashion, where you take a photo of a shirt, we find the right pair of pants. Or you take a photo of your couch, you find throw pillows. But all the time, even, you know, journalists that are well-meaning, you know, would say, she helps people find the right, and then here, she helps black women find the right makeup, right? So there seems to be this, you know, they want, you're going to be, you know, you're woman engineers, and that, so the makeup thing, and then there's also the fact that people want to write stories about this unicorn black woman engineer. And never mind that I have my MBA, I worked in the finance industry for a while. Yes, we're a tech company, but it does take, like I said, an entrepreneur, it takes technology, it takes creativity, it takes business. So those are some things that you just need to be aware of, and I think just position yourself in a way that would get people to talk about your company in the way you want to be heard. Because I think it affects, you know, funding. It affects everyone's perception of your company and what you've built. Today, I don't want my company being thought of as a makeup company for future investors. I want them to think of us as the future Google, where we're using photos in place of text. That's what we've done. So just entrepreneurs, keep that in mind. Just your platform.
And thank you for bringing that, because I think, you know, you raise such an important point, and to be able to sort of, I want to say, to hold your ground and to be clear on what you do, and know that in the face of the things that are often thrown at us, whether it is at entrepreneurs or as employees and intrapreneurs, you have to find a way to plow through that. So in order to be successful, rather than letting this thing become, you know, this bar that you're constantly hitting at that's not allowing you to get ahead. So in the front row.
Hey everybody, my name is Precious Williams. I'm the founder and CEO of Curvy Girls Lingerie and Perfect Pitches by Precious. I'm the 2013 Black Enterprise Elevator Pitch Champion.
That is an introduction.
I'll be speaking today about the, you know, pitch, pitch, bang, bang, how to hit your target market each and every time. So I wanted to ask you women, like, I'm an entrepreneur. My biggest challenge was I was 327 pounds when I started my company. And what do people say? No one's ever gonna buy from a fat girl. No one's gonna see a big fat black woman on television. Did all of that. But what were your major challenges, and when you got started, how were you able to overcome?
For me,
thank you
my
for that.
major challenge was being a woman in technology. I graduated in 1983, and then I was a black woman, you know, and so I couldn't. But I'm not just
Things that don't exist. Look, they
but
do.
I'm not just defined by a black woman, and that's why, you know, I said it that way, because I'm just a woman, you know, that happens to be black and happens to, you know, be in technology. You know, that's what I want when I go out into the forefront, you know. And I remember going looking for jobs, and I got turned down all the time. And so I went and started, you know, doing data entry. And the technology recruiter said, you're never going to make it. And I was like, don't tell me what I'm not going to do. And I don't know this woman. All through my careers, I was like, I wish I knew where she was. I can say, I told you, you know. But I understand being a big woman. I haven't been a big woman, you know, probably like the past 10 years, you know, just work, coming home and, you know, programming to 2 o'clock in the morning, bad eating habits. And I smoked for 34 years. I quit 2 years ago. And so I've been on this really, you know, health, you know, I don't eat meat anymore, you know, I don't drink any more alcohol, you know, so now it's sugar. I know I'm addicted to sugar. So, you know, it's about, it's about taking care of yourself and knowing where you are going to go. It's a journey, and I'm loving the journey, and then nobody can tell me, no man, woman, or anyone can tell me what I can't do. So, you know, my challenges are experiences that I look back and I, you know, use to, you know, pull back and say, okay, how am I going to get through this? I got through this, so I know I can get through that. So that's my challenges.
I'll keep it short. For me, I have 2 kids. I have 2 young kids, and 5 and 1.5 years. And starting a company while you're having kids, it's your baby, as well. And so that was the biggest challenge for me. And I think when we think about what investors are thinking about, I was raising money when I was 9 months pregnant. So, you go into.
So you were a fat black woman.
I was. I am. And so, I wrote a blog about this on Woman 2.0. It's also check it out if you can. But yeah, that was the challenge because everybody is thinking, what is she going to do? And, so what I actually did was when I went into the room at that point, I would address it. I would say, yes, I know I am 9 months pregnant. But, I have a plan of how I'm going to utilize the funding, and it should play no role at all in whether or not I get funded. So, yeah.
So I would say the biggest challenge that I've had to overcome is actually what I didn't see. So, and perhaps what I didn't know, or perhaps what other people perceived or thought they saw about me. So one of the things that resonated for me about your story is when other people, put you in a box or define your boundaries or say this person is that or this, and that's not how you define yourself. It is like the most frustrating thing in the world. And you don't always, you often don't know that it's happening. And I've just had to learn, over time, like how to, approach people of different styles and personality types, and understanding when a man is threatened by me and how to deal with that. And actually, I just downloaded a book. I haven't read it yet, so don't, but maybe some of you have heard of it. It's called Nobody Understands Me and What to Do About It. I don't know if you got Heidi. Her last name is escaping me, but I've someone who's coaching me, and she suggested this book because of this challenge. So I would say, like, those obstacles, sometimes they're obvious and they're there and everyone else knows they're there, and sometimes you don't even know that they're there and they're holding you back, which as women in tech, I think often happens. So the stronger the community can be and the more people you have helping you navigate that is one way to tackle that challenge.
That's a great point.
For me, I guess being mother and wife when I have my own company started, that balancing those different responsibility, I have to say, it's the most difficult challenge I had to overcome, and I'm still struggling, to be honest with you. Being a minority, I'm very accustomed to be the 1 or 2 female students and I got engineering degree, so I'm very accustomed to be 1 or 2 female engineer in the classroom, filled with male students, right? So looking back, maybe this because, and I came from Korea, so starting from my high school, another couple of years back from college, I was only few students in the high school who doesn't speak English, who doesn't know the culture, and I had to learn the language. So, I was just thrown into the environment, right, from at very early age, and I learned to be very comfortable with it. And then I went to engineering school, and I got my PhD in experimental physics. So I was very a few female PhD students getting experimental physics degree. And then I went to Lucent Technology, which is another very heavy technology company. And my coworkers, majority of them are male. And even at Chromis, we do hire, we try to hire across genders. We're looking at the skills, what they can contribute it. But just because in the reality, it's the available talents in that certain technical work that we Chromis needs to achieve, is there are more male candidates available, that's the reality. So, it's a small company, but still, there are more male. My all co-partners are male, and on the board, Peggy and I are only 2 female on the board. And so I'm very accustomed to it. So being a minority, I guess I kind of learned to feel comfortable with it. I'm not saying it's not difficult. It requires, of course, it's very challenging. I have to overcome. But to me, once I got married, and then I realized, oh, gee, besides my work, right? I have a husband to take care of, right? And then once I have 2 children, I said, oh, wow, they're helpless, right? They're helpless. I'm mother, right? And I have this strong mother instinct that pulls me back to them from my work. So, and then at the same time, I want to do everything well. So, and I had to learn that, you just have to realize, you cannot be perfect. Being a mother, being a wife, and friend, and businesswoman, right? You just have to find the right balance and adapt to different roles that you have to play. And this doesn't mean that, to set lower standards or easy goals. That doesn't mean that. But you have to know what the realistic goals. And once you realize that you start achieving your realistic goals, then you become happier. Your life becomes happier. Your work becomes more fun. And then you become happy person, right?
which is a much more productive person. I mean,
Right.
one of the things I would say on this question for everyone in the room who is working for someone, and this might sound crazy, take advantage of performance reviews. Take advantage of situations if their company offers things like 360 reviews. Take advantage of those. That was a pivotal moment for me in my career when I was working for someone, was having a 360 review, because it's about who you are and how you're perceived by your coworkers. And it may highlight a skill that perhaps you're really good at. For me, as I like to jokingly say to people, as a manager, I was I was a lawyer and then I was a law firm manager. And so for a global law firm, as a manager, oh, the sun shines out of every pore of my body. I am the world's greatest manager, according to that 360 review. The next day, literally after having this 360 review, the next day I was in a new department. No staff, no budget, global responsibility. Here's a paper clip and a chewed piece of gum. Make it happen. Seriously. My career happiness went up overnight. I may be good at something, but it doesn't rock my world. So for those of you who are thinking about, oh, what am I going to do? And I'm not happy in the situation I'm in, take that step back and say, how is my community perceiving me? And what is it that I really want to do? And I think this really picks up on what Heather said. And I would also say, some of the things I'm hearing, it makes me think of Laura Listwood and her book, which is, the title is fleeting from me, and she writes a lot on diversity. When you're the flea in the room, you're really watching out for the elephant because you don't want to be stepped on. And instead of thinking I'm in the flea in the room and I'm going to get stepped on, there's an incredible power in knowing who your adversaries and how the world sees you, so that you can communicate and you can address that rather than being so oblivious to what your impact, kind of in the entire world is. And I would just, on a personal level, my challenge is, I feel I'm just getting started in my career. I have a book coming out in January. I turned 50 last year. As far as the world's concerned, I should be planning shuffleboard and packing up, right? I always I jokingly and not jokingly say to people, I'm going to retire at the same age as either Warren Buffett or Charlie Munger, whichever one retires at the oldest age. Okay, so Warren's in his 80s, Charlie's in his 90s, right? And we admire those two for continuing in business. And I always think to myself, change the gender, and what would we be saying? Right. When's the old bat going to retire, right? I'm going to be that old bat, and you're all going to be happy that I'm still working. Okay, more question. Okay, we're going to go here, and then we're going to go here on the corner. Okay, stand up and tell us who you are.
I'm Tess Moon. I graduated from Babson College in 2012. Right now I work for Bridgewater Associates as a project manager, and I also run my own startup called Skip Lab. I have a question regarding confidence. Growing up, the confident, assertive girl on the playground was called bossy. And then in your careers, have you encountered those moments where you're first being told you're not confident enough, and then you're told you're overconfident and you're bossy, and or another B word? Yes.
I want to say when I hear that one, I like to say to people when they say she's a bitch. So I'm going to give this away to everyone. When someone says she's a bitch, I say to them, please tell me in non-gender terms what is the action or the behavior that you do not like. That I may understand. Bitch, I do not understand.
All right.
So
Your experiences.
all right, experiences. Lord knows this panel. Oh, we got.
had a lot.
How much time do we have?
I don't, wow, I get that a lot, I was raised.
I was going to say something to you earlier.
Yeah. My father, it was 3 girls, and I was the middle child. And my brother passed away in a day. He was older than me, between my older sister and myself. And my dad really wanted a son. So needless to say, I became, his son. He treated me and he raised me to be, that way, and it's been tough because people have looked at me a certain way, and I'm like, I'm not really like that, But to me, it's about getting the job done. And I was, I get mad when people were like, oh, you're too assertive, you're too aggressive, you're the B word, you're everything. And I'm like, and it really got me down at the beginning of my career, and I tried to change, but I wasn't happy, because that wasn't me. And I went back to who I am, and I was like, you can think what you want of me at the end of the day, but, as long as my mother and father are very proud of me, and I can wake up in the morning and say what I've done and appreciate myself, I don't really care, what people think. I just go out there and be the best person that I can be and let everybody else have opinions the way they want. Everybody's always going to have opinions of people, but it's about who I touch and who I mentor and what people that really know me, mean something to me. And then hopefully, people can see me at a situation like that and be like, oh, she's really not what you think she is. I get so many times too, I'm this light skin, African Americans have this color situation, where I'm this light skinned girl and, you're this and you're that. And I'm like, I'm really not. And then when people see me, they're like, oh, I thought you were a snob and this and this. And I was like, but you're really not. So in all situations, people can look at those things and be like, they can have their opinions. But at the end of the day, it's about the people that know you and the people that you touch and what you do in life. That's it.
So like for women, how do we get this, from sort of a conversation where the woman's being we're getting criticized and using terminology for the behaviors that we often associate with leadership, but somehow, it's not with us. How do we get in a situation where someone is at work and they're being told they're aggressive or they're bossy? How do we help them get it to a conversation on, tell me how I could have done this task or job better, right? What is the behavior that's not appropriate here in the workplace, as opposed to, or the skills or the attributes I need to exhibit to be successful in this workplace, and away from our generalizations on the way we think women should behave. Like, how do we move that?
I'm going to give an answer that you're not going to like. And I'm coming from a different perspective, right? So my parents are Nigerian. I grew up in Nigeria and in England before I came here. And culturally, I was taught to, huge culturally, respect your elders, right? Huge, that was massive. But I also grew up in a home where my mom was very, very accomplished. And they encouraged and pushed me to be the absolute best I could possibly be. They turned our laundry room into a chemistry lab for me growing up. So that was the environment in which I grew up in. Now, I came here for college, and I realized that in college, where you're kind of in a protective environment, it was different. You couldn't being polite was viewed as being weak. Respecting people was interpreted as weakness. And I didn't really understand that until I entered the workforce and realized that no matter how good of a job I did, technically, if I wasn't what people considered confident and loud and what I consider loud, yes, then you just weren't being credited for good work that you did. And then I got into the finance field, and then it was kind of like, then I kind of said, okay, I have to kind of be confident. And then I got into finance on Wall Street, and it was, okay, can't be the angry black woman. Right? No, it was, yeah, you can't be the angry black woman. Where, there was a WIN initiative and people were talking about, how women needed to be more aggressive. I was thinking, people were thinking that the more aggressive I am, you're that angry black woman. So for me, I had to dial it down. So, it's very different. I think culturally, 2 points. Culturally, I think this culture generally promotes people being aggressive. Like that's, and I don't want to be that. I'd never go into work thinking of myself as a black woman. Never. I never think of, until I came to the US, honestly, race was not it was not an issue. Non-existent for me. And it was a rude awakening. Secondly, I never think of myself in my role of doing anything as a woman. When I'm at work, I'm not thinking I'm a woman, black CEO doing work. No, it's not, I'm just doing work. So I think culturally, in general, we have a lot deeper than just the gender issues. I think that this culture generally promotes people being more aggressive. I'm sorry, but that's been my experience.
No, don't, please. No, that's exactly what we need to hear, and we need to hear these differences.
We actually, I just facilitated a diversity panel at Google last week, and a comment from someone in the audience was similar in the sense that this culture promotes not just that kind of personality trait, but also individual accomplishment. And that's promoted, I think, in society, but also definitely in large companies as well. And, it's harder to quantify the team impact and the team accomplishment, and you worked well with others, so yes, you're going to get promoted for that. That's not typically how that conversation goes. It's important, and if you don't work well with others, that will hurt you. But on its own, it's not going to get you where you want to go. But on the, I think, just on this whole topic, as far as how are we going to make it better? I will say I think it's getting better. Education, data and education are the things that are going to get us there. I had my manager tell me that someone else thought I was aggressive and argumentative. I asked him to tell me what he thought that other person thought about me, and he shared that, and I thought, I didn't really say anything to him, and that was and I have a very good relation with my manager, but then he went to a training that we're doing called bias busting, and he came back and he said, I realized that people only use the word aggressive in this negative way when they're speaking about women. Yeah. And he learned that through a training, and he didn't share that with me in a way that he thought was not helpful. He actually thought he was helping me. So education is going to take a long time. We have a lot of different, events like this and education and nonprofits to get us there, but the conversation is hugely important. And your sisters and this community is huge. Yeah. It's huge. You need to really rely on the bonds of the sisterhood and making those connections. It is something that you don't really learn. I don't think, I certainly didn't learn, I would say, as important it was until this stage of my career. I've been working for 20 years because I was naive. I never saw myself as a woman. I never saw myself as an aggressive woman, all these other things, labels that people would put on me, and I was naive. And now I realize, wow, in order for me to break through, I have a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. In order for me to break through, I need to understand this better myself and not just help others understand it. And I will also say that to make it all work, my son is 3. Today is his 3-year checkup. I chose to skip it to be here. My husband, who runs his own company, was the one who took him to the doctor. So.
Love that.
But I want to say one thing, and then, women have to step up and be role models for women, too. When they're in these positions, they have to mentor young women in their organizations and really show them the way so they can then come and take our place, and then pull people up from the bootstraps, because if we don't, that's what men do. They do it all the time.
Exactly. And I was going to say, we all know out there are people who are, I'll use a gender neutral term. There's people who are jerks, right? Yeah. And we're all going to encounter those people. And you may have some jerk on your team, right? But if they do a good job, like separate the personality from the job that they're doing. And if there's a woman who's on your team who is doing a fantastic job, but you don't happen to like her, I really don't care. Support her in her career,
Exactly.
right? And we need to do more of that. Otherwise, we're going to have this conversation. Like I said, I'm 50. I don't want to have this conversation in 50 years. And my great-grandmother lived to 101 without Alzheimer's. You guys are going to put up with me for such a long time. You do not want to have this conversation. There'll be one angry white woman. You do not want her back here in 50 years. All right, last word, Dr. Park.
Just last, similar to what you just said, that coming from Korea, I realized that here in America, you promote this very confident behavior. You teach kids, you need to come up confident, you have to speak confidently. So I went to going back to my PhD experience, right? It's mainly all male students around me. And I was like struggling, I don't understand what the professor is talking about. It's oh God, what is that? Am I dumb? And then and I asked, do you understand? I turned to a male student next to me, do you understand? He was like, yep, of course, it's easy. Oh, really? It's like, so, and then, we got our final test back, and I did better than him. So I was like, so it did, actually, I do have to say, it does promote, here culturally, you promote that you have to come out strongly. And I had to, I was raised very differently. You speak softly. You don't say something. If you think something different than the other person, you don't say in front of them. You take the person outside and quietly, softly, express, why you think it's different. And, you have to be polite. Don't express your ideas so loudly. And so it was very different coming from Korea here, and I'm still trying to, I have to remind myself, even now, I've been here many years, still remind myself, when I think something different, you have to speak out, right? Here, that's expected. So I think it's nothing to do with confidence in my case. It's more like my cultural background issue. But that when I don't speak out, if people do definitely view me as, oh, she doesn't know, she doesn't have anything to say, rather than, oh, yeah, she does have a good idea, but she's trying to polite. So.
Right.
Nice polite women, like nice polite Canadians. All right, so we've been given like the hook. Oh no, we had two questions here. We had one question. Okay, everyone, Natasha, stand up. Everyone who has questions, would you please write them down and give them to Natasha? She's then going to email me and the panel, and we will get you answers, because that is very, I'm putting, this one year you get to be the moderator and you get to put your panelists on the line. It's really important to me that you get the answers that you need, and I think we could have had, this is an incredible panel. I want to thank them so much for their insight. We want to make sure that you get the information you need, so find this fabulous woman today. If you think of questions later, give her your questions. She's going to email us, and we will get you answers. Thank you very much for spending the last hour with us.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Appreciate it. So I'm going to transition you. For those of you who just came in right before the panel, there is a schedule, an agenda that you can pick up on your way out. It's right here on the table, so make sure you pick that up. Before you're in the next session, all of the breakout sessions, we'll all be around to help all of the speakers. But you want to be sure that you look at your agenda first. This is Studio B. Next door to my left is Studio A, and this is Studio C. So you'll have A, B, and C. Across the hall is the bar area for professional women, okay? We want everyone to go into the restaurant area. There is plenty of snacks there. We're going to make sure you're fed and kept hydrated. So make sure you pick up some snacks before you go to your next breakout session, okay? Have fun today. You're welcome.
you don't need that. Then, but how you gonna continue? What do you do? 2 years? 2 Yes, I'm 5 years. I'm the great yeah, it's like every day keep busting on for months. And it's really so I guess for oh my God, thank you. Last company, I would, and I really want to I'm basically about investing. So I run I am very passionate about hospitality. I am like predicting the marketing. We're in hospitality. So, I'm in Phoenix, right? It's important for you. Are you from there?
No, but one of my close friends is from Marist College, so
Yes.
I love that valley.
Yeah, I work with
photography is like all born in the valley. Yeah. It's a really cool area.
I'm gonna come back to this place.
Yeah, I've wanted to do that.
Kind of like a small, obvious event. We are going to go
Like a small community.
so one of the things I do is I started from there because of person that they got like it's almost like you do have to have a career startups. We need to build a pipeline now. So you are
You should, yeah, definitely get in touch with Golden Seeds website, but I just finished everything.
Seems getting complicated.
Thanks. Sorry, I didn't bring my phone.
Ortega or Amanda, if you can hear me, we need 9 volts in Studio B.
they're so up and down, smoke.
9 volts in Studio B.
Years, 3 years, they will not really bother. They're
9 volt batteries for wireless mics. Thank you.
Yeah,
So
there we go. And so that's
having that
Golden
person
Seeds.
after training them, telling them to leave the job, it
I hope you
is
enjoy the rest of the
very challenging for the company. So you kind of have to, when you speak to the small company, you kind of see which category is the job you're applying for. And then you just have to present yourself